last week we didn't have any demos. We had a long conversation about transliteration and diacritics. Beautiful discussion. We learned a lot. So I don't know if Sotiris made any progress on that. I hope he will. Today, demos.
Yes. Thank you. I will do a little bit about UI testing.
UI. Anyone else? Nobody. Maybe.
I can show a site I've been working on.
You can. Can you? Will you? Do you want to?
Yeah, sure.
X. See, Sotiris is not here. The topics. Feel free to ask me a question or suggest a topic. Status. Actually, one. It's pretty silent. Nothing for a month. Portrait core. Since last week, which I should use this one. Yep. So add current port to the setup tenant button UI. The current port. Host. So there is an overload on this one, split, where you can pass the max number of items you want to be split. If you pass 2, for instance, you will have whatever is before, whatever is after, and if there is none, you will get 1 value. I wonder what's happening if you just say 1. Do you just get the previous part? Okay. I'm asking myself. Off, so I will try that. I was looking at the code generated for that thing. So the question being input equals type overload. The string, so input dot split that y. Ready? Okay. ABC, you see, and 1 df. And the idea is that if you have more than that, you have A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Result 1, and here you see now it's the second part after. It's not splitting on that. So you limit the number of fragments you want by 2. So it's taking 1 and 2. If I don't set that, it will be that, and there will be a third result, which will be the other part. But I want that. Now a question is, if I say 1 exception, that's good, and if I say 0, if I say 1, it's actually taking everything. I want 1 thing, not 2. Interesting. So I don't know what's the point of 1 then. If I say 0, argument exception, yeah, okay. what's one then? Might be interesting for. Oh, look at that! Did you see the gray thing here? I didn't notice. It's showing me the values of this. Oh wow, that's awesome. So I don't need to look at the result here. I can just look at that. Okay.
Yeah, I was really confused at first what that is.
I didn't see that. Okay, beautiful. Okay, so just in this case, that will still be better to use 2. This way, once it finds one, it won't try to split again and again and again all the things. At the same time, there should be only one, but that's just for safety. Okay, so here it's extracting the port value. And so splitting and concatenating, it's like, that's weird. So it's like removing it, I assume, if it was there and setting it, or if it was not there, setting it. That's the idea. Okay. Okay, maybe we should look at the issue that was fixing. Oh, revert changes. Oh, I see, because that's what he's saying, that he reverted his change back because it broke some buttons. Okay, so he reverted it, that's why. I didn't understand his comment about reverting something. Antoine updated thread to 224. 224. I will show you what the new version of thread does. So we were at before 223, so I need to show we 220 before. Okay. Update dependencies. mkdocs. 4 hours after another one. Prevent confusing usage of IRunning. Okay. How is that? What's confusing me is the title. It's too long. Now I'm confused. Before I was not. Okay, spacey here.
That's formatting. Yeah.
Comments.
Because you could use this extension method with an HTTP context, but it didn't actually work anywhere where you can do it from a module. So after discussing it with Jean-Thierry, I just made it internal.
Not public. Oh, you made it internal? Do we have a service for that?
Well, you mean IRunningShellTable? Yeah. This is an extension method, just.
This is an extension method, but what's using that? I mean, we have other match methods on the interface. That's right.
Yes.
Okay, and okay, so this one is a custom one that does something.
Yeah, that's just for the modules project.
Okay. Not only because it wouldn't match tenants with an URL prefix related to the request pipeline. Okay. That shouldn't break anyone. Nobody should use that then. Then fluid 225 because it's better. Change response task support text HTML. Okay. I don't understand why there is a fixed list, or is just some samples, or is it just the list of the things that are supported? Can't you type something? Because I will assume that you might have some requests that don't even set the content type, or others. Interesting. Like, what if I want to send application CSV, for instance? So I'm wondering what this is. And a few hours after, a new version. That's why we usually don't take the major releases because it's like, okay, lots of changes. And then everyone is like filing issues. Oh, there is this bug and there is this bug because somebody tested that version before the previews. So that's why we usually want to wait, but it's fine. I'm sure we didn't see anything broken on our doc. That's it. Okay. Cool. Demos by order of appearance. Zoltan.
Yeah, just a sec. And soon you should be able to see my screen. Can you?
We can. Yeah.
Okay, great. So this will be about an addition to our UI testing toolbox, something that I demoed before, which is as we discussed previously, which is a bunch of helpers, services to run an Orchard core application in a sandbox environment for the purpose of UI testing with Selenium and a couple of other frameworks and other libraries. What we have added now, actually it was done by Yevgeny, who is the developer of the UI testing framework Katata, is a bunch of tests for basic Orchard features. So the idea here is that you have an Orchard application and you want to do some basic smoke testing, like try out the application whether it works at its very basics. Now for that, we have created pretty much this test basic Orchard features extension method, which will run through a couple of tests that you can also run individually. For example, testing whether the setup works, testing whether registration works, both positive and negative tests, or testing whether the login works. Now, all of these are features of Orchard itself, so not your custom application, but these are also all things that you can break from your custom code. So we figured that it's useful to check whether these basic Orchard features work all the time. And for example, if you manage to break setup with your recipe, or if you manage to break the login or registration features from your code, like even implementing an event handler that throws an exception, well, then these tests should catch them. And how they work is, well, exactly the same as all the UI tests. So let me just run these tests. The tests themselves can be invoked via this method, as I mentioned, from a standard test class. So in this case, oops, this is faster than I'm talking. So in this case, we have this XUnit test class here, which has a test method that does nothing apart from running all the tests, all of these basic Orchard feature tests. But keep in mind that they can be run individually as well. But if you are not picky, then first a negative test for the setup will run. So here we see in the browser what happens. And for everything we have negative and positive tests, some very basic ones, so it's not foolproof, but you can also parameterize them to adjust them to your use case. Yeah, the negative test for the setup is done. As you can see, there's a validation error, so as expected, setup didn't happen. So let's run the positive test for the setup, which just runs the setup. And you see we have a custom recipe just for such tests. In a general use case, you'd also have some kind of custom recipe just for UI testing, which most possibly is almost the same as the recipe used for daily development. Yeah, we also have a test for registration. Again, a negative test first. So you see we have all the validation errors, and then a positive test. So we managed to register. Of course, it was very quick. but that's what happens. And then we try to register with an existing user, and then we try to log in. First, we try to log in with invalid data, which means that there's no user account in the end. Then we try to log in with valid data, which means that now we are logged in. And finally, there are two bigger ones as well, or actually we have three more. This next one is about content operations. It goes to the admin, tries to create a page. Again, this is also configurable, and checks whether the page has been published. So some very rudimentary testing. Now, for example, if from your custom module you have a driver or a handler, or anything that hooks into the content management features that breaks this, or even if it doesn't doesn't break altogether, but at least there's an exception in the log, then this test will catch it. And similarly, we test turning features on and off, because of course that restarts the tenant. So again, at time when exceptions can happen, when you extend HTTP events. And finally, we test the logout as well, which was successful. So our tests were successful, all green. That's it. The point is that this is something that you can add to your test suite with these pretty much one-liner, or if you are parameterizing it down, there's a couple of other lines. But nevertheless, with this zero effort, you will get a pretty good smoke test for the basic features of your application.
Cool. So yeah, these are predefined tests that we can add in any site to ensure that the base features are not broken. So all the Orchard sites should have these features, and you're ensuring that they still work when you add new stuff, modules and everything. So this is reusable set of tests.
Yes.
I have questions.
Sure.
I have questions. Maybe I should have also asked, and maybe I did also last time. First, does it run on Linux?
The tests themselves shouldn't have any issues. We are just actually troubleshooting some issues under Linux for the whole UI testing toolbox. So at the moment, I don't think it runs, but we are in the process of fixing it.
And is it an issue because of your code or the libraries that you are using?
Because of our code. It's almost like somewhere we use .NET.exe instead of just .NET from the command line, but it's a bit more involved than that, but it's an oversight mostly. So
you are running Orchard using the .NET CLI and not the test environment, like that. You see what I mean? The MVC tester, the thing that is provided with .NET also.
Yes, for now, but with .NET 6, the test environment got some cool updates. So once we upgrade it, we always target the LTS version. And once we upgrade it, we'll actually check that out. I already did some experimenting around.
Okay.
Because that looks quite promising.
Might be a bit better for stability then.
Yeah, and I also hope it would help with performance a bit.
Well, I'm not sure. Well, I'm not sure it will help a lot, and it doesn't matter in this case, I think. Or it won't matter a lot, even if it improves a lot. Yeah. Running in proc or out of proc should not change the perf a lot in this case. The theory and Chrome attributes there, so theory is from XUnit, Chrome is from...
Yeah, Chrome is our stuff. You see we have this parameter here for the test method. Okay. Everything you have after theory is parameterization for the XUnit test. It's pretty much data-driven testing. In this case, this is just super simple, just marking that we are running it in the Chrome browser, but we do support these other browsers as well.
Okay, so you have other attributes for that?
Yeah, you could either change this to something like Edge, which is Chromium Edge, by the way, or you could say Chrome and Edge. And once this reloads, we should actually have two tests
so
showing
like
up here.
inline data in the UI because it's a theory. And
yes.
Thinking. Okay, and the browser is it's just an attribute, an enumeration of which, or is it more than that? Is it just a browser? What is that?
This is just an enum, yeah.
Okay.
Oops, not this one, but this one. Yeah, because we need to support every browser specifically, but these are the ones that Selenium and something else we use that we need for that has support for.
What NuGet packages do you reference?
Well, I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah, Atata is an important one that builds on top of Selenium, which is here. Selenium.x is for accessibility testing.
Okay.
This we need for running the .NET CLI. This is of course for Azure. All kinds of configuration for the app configuration. Test SDK, SQL Server management, so we can create SQL Server databases for each instance of the application running and automatically delete it and snapshot it. Shoodly is an assertion library. WebDriver Manager is quite cool because in Selenium, for those who happen to not know, you need so-called web drivers to support each browser. And of course, we have support for 4 browsers here. That would be 4 web drivers to manage. And what's the issue there is that you need a separate web driver for every version of a browser, every minor version even. But this library makes this whole thing go away, and it manages all these web drivers automatically, so we don't need to do any updates when there's a Chrome update, for example.
Yeah, that's a pain point in the ASP.NET repo. We have to update the Chrome driver, but also in 2 locations because it's driven by the C# one and also by the JavaScript one. So we also have to update the NPM. So you say this one, but don't you have to update the WebDriver Manager version still?
No,
No?
This we haven't touched for a year or so.
I see.
And
so it does dynamically download whatever Selenium driver is necessary?
Exactly.
Okay, interesting. And what is installing Chrome on the machine?
You have to have that installed, so that's not something that we manage here.
Okay.
Yeah,
and on Linux it will be the same issue.
Yeah, but there shouldn't be any incompatibility on this front at least. There are ways around that because you could of course script a Chrome installation. You could package it up in a container. You can also package it up as a NuGet package. Actually, I've seen somebody doing that, but that has legal issues if you do it publicly.
What is the one we are using? What's the name already? Crap. Starts with a C. We updated it. Antoine, what's the framework we use for testing?
Cypress.
Cypress, thank you. So what is Cypress doing? Is it also downloading Chrome without legal issue using NPM? I think it does. It's using Chrome, I think. Or is it using a headless browser?
I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
By the way, we are executing Chrome and the other browsers as well in headless mode. So while it's a proper Chrome.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I see what you mean. I see. Yeah, that's that. I'm wondering. Okay, that's cool. And why SQL Server? Because that's what you use for your customers and you want to ensure it's working with SQL Server because issues.
Yes, SQL Server and SQLite is supported. You can use both of them also interchangeably in the same test suite. We wanted to have SQL Server support because if you are not using one of the abstractions, but you write SQL directly, at least parsed SQL even, then incompatibilities can be there. This is to pinpoint those.
Cool. Thank you. So can we stop running the tests because you run them?
Sorry, a second.
Can we stop running the tests in the Orchard repository because you run them all the time?
This is just for custom applications right now, and it's a very simple test, but we could somehow integrate it.
Yeah, I suggest everyone to use your library for their application, which must be much easier than what we do to set up. Okay. Very nice. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks.
One day we'll use that in Orchard, once it works on Linux.
Oh, that should be pretty soon, I think.
Then, oh yes, other demos. Showing my screen again. I don't know why, but I will. Transition. Dave, you have priority. Do you want to show a website? We lose Dave.
Can you hear me?
I can hear a sound. And
Right.
myself. If you can fix that, that would be great. But if you are the only one to talk, I don't care about the echo. I will just shut up and then no echo.
Cool. Right, I had my headset on, but it appears to not be working, so I've unplugged it. If there are any issues, just let me know and I'll see what I can do. All right, so can I share my screen? Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. I just muted to prevent the echo. Well, there is no echo anymore, but you can go.
Cool, all right. Right. So this is, yeah. So this is the set that I've been working on, relatively new to Orchard Co. in .NET. So I'm really fresh. So I'm really proud of this one. It's a standard site, really. But because I'm new to Orchard Co., the goal here was to try and accommodate the client's needs in the sense that they wanted a lot of custom pages. For instance, the sign-up page, logins, they're all custom screens. So this one was quite a challenge in particular, because it's actually managed from within the UI itself, right? But I kind of, managed to get it working. If you have any questions, please fire away. It's my first demo.
Yeah, my first comment would be like, why didn't you just say no to the customer? They want being able
because
to.
I wanted to see. I like a challenge, right? So I wanted to see how far I can push myself in the system, so that next time I know what I'm getting into, right? So the password was quite interesting because I, for quite some time, didn't realize that the workflow that I was using does not, the save user event, right? Or the save user task. I forget which one it is. it does not save the password, right? So what I did to go around that was implement my own custom workflow, which really was just a copy of the existing one, and add the password field to it as well. The other challenge that I ran into was, if I can, right. So with the logged in customer area, by account area, I don't know exactly what you call it. It too had to use its own theme, right? And that was a little bit of a challenge to implement, but again, with a lot of questions on Git, I managed to get it sorted. So I'll show you
Is it
what
a
that looks
multi-tenant
like.
site?
No.
Okay.
It isn't.
By the way, any reason you implemented that workflow instead of coding it?
Sorry, what's the question?
Yeah, any particular reason you approach the login workflow implementation as a workflow and not by coding the whole logic?
Because my goal is usually to enable. I prefer to have functionality available within the UI, right? So anything that I can do to make it easier to get the customer to make feature changes without having to, call on me. Yeah, I usually go down that route. Would you say it would have been better to implement it via coding?
Well, I don't know. It just looks very complex. So probably I would have coded at least part of it, still keeping configurability from the admin open for certain things that you needed.
Yeah, I don't know about. I found this route that I took to be easier. So, so yeah, that's what the dashboard looks like. And with this, I just implemented just some basic rules, really. I'll show you exactly how I did that. So yeah, I just have a theme service here that literally just has rules around what patterns, if they match, it sends the user to a sort of a different theme. I think this is where I did it. Oh no, hang on a second. Oh yeah, this is how I did it. So anything that matches this gets sent to this theme as opposed to the general site theme. I suppose that's it really, unless anybody has any questions.
So we can go on the URL and hack it.
Yes, you can do that.
I can try, or if I know some security issues actually in Option, I might try them. So I can get some money out of it.
And that's what I wanted to share it actually. If anybody can catch any issues that need addressing, that would be fantastic.
So that's great. Thanks for the demonstration, the new website, and Sultan will add it, or have a minion add it to ShowOrchard.
Yeah.
Sultan has lots of minions.
I actually wanted to submit this URL to you guys already. but there are some few things that I hadn't finished. For instance, here I need to enable users to add their bank account details and some crazy stuff. But yeah, it should be ready, hopefully at some point next week.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sharing my screen. So my turn. Fluid, updates on Fluid. Can I remove that bar? Go away. Go away. Okay, thank you. So Fluid. Releases. I did a lot of releases. So we were on 10 days ago, 20 days ago, we were there. Skip static properties on the JSON filter. That speaks for itself. Fix reverse filter on string. Oh, this one is interesting. So someone found an issue because when can I do Notepad or can I do VS Code? It's better, right? So new file here. When you do something like, let's say if you have an array, okay, 1, 2, 3, and you do reverse. This is not valid liquid, but just to show you what it will do is return you an array 3, 2, 1. If you do it on a string 1, 2, 3, and you do reverse, you would expect to get 3 to 1. But what it was giving you, I think it was not working first. And actually, it's not giving, it should not give you a string, but it should give you an array. So reverse has been fixed in two ways. First, fixing the behavior on strings, and then also returning an array instead of a string. So that's not obvious. That's not something you would expect from that, but that's what it's returning now. That's the idea. By the way, while I'm here, and if you want to test Liquid features, I would suggest you to use Liquid.js, so it doesn't require anything to run locally. Playground, and then you can try something like that. 1, 2, 3, 5. It's usually very well implemented, so there are no bugs, and you see you get then the toString 3 to 1. That's an array actually that has been serialized and then displayed as string. Another way is to use .NET Fiddle, in which case you can reference the NuGet package and then try things. So that's another way to do that. It requires more work than just trying Liquid.js. So I would suggest that. See you later, Dave. Then template context argument and fluid values method. If you inherit from object value base and you wanted to override some of the methods, you didn't have access to template context, which is required if you want to return new fluid values. So now is that. New minimal APIs liquid views if you want to do minimal API applications, even in minimal APIs. Then there is a liquid views module, package that you can use to use that, but unrelated. No changes, it's just that the NuGet.org push failed, so I had to repush again with a new version. This is new, implement render tag. So usually use the input tag to load an external liquid file. This input tag has been obsoleted by the Shopify team because it has security issues in a way that when you run a partial template from this input tag, it can access all the variables from the previous, from the calling templates, and so on and so forth. And they see that as a security issue. So they created a new tag, render, that doesn't have this issue. It works exactly the same as input with the same parameters, the same arguments, but you can only access the properties that have been set on the tag itself, or the variables that are defined in the global scope. And in Fluid, you can define a global scope with the options, so that works the same. Not only, so there is now a new render tag also in Fluid. There are actually some interesting ways to use that. So you can, I will use a link. I'm not sure this tool supports render. Does it support render? If I do include, and maybe it supports render. So you can do something like that, include foo, and it will try to render the foo.liquid file. And when you do that, inside the foo.liquid, the foo property is the global scope. I think that's something like that. Or has, oh no, I think you can have like A1, B2. And then in this case, foo.A, foo.B will have the values. You can also do include foo as, let's say, model. And then the properties will be available under the model property. You can do with products. Oh yeah, something like that. You can do with products. So with a so if you have a variable, something like that, or let's say it's a nice object, you can do with a. Okay, and then you can do as model. There is also for products. They assign values equals 1, 2, 3 reverse. So it will give you an array, say products. And you can do include for products, and then you can also optionally say as product, and then it will iterate this template for each of the values of the products array with the products property inside the template. So these are all the newly supported properties. I think before it was just supporting with something like that. That was the only option it was supported. And now render does the same thing with all the supported properties and more securely. So that's the 223, missing input tag properties, and fix the automatic file change detections in the view engine, but doesn't relate to Orchard. And 224 adds first, oh, it's fixing first, last, and size. So you can in Liquid do something like products dot first. So what, oh, this is, okay. This is an array, so first is 3 now. You can do last, and you can do size. In Fluid, these properties were implemented specifically as were implemented specifically in all the values, but you can also do pipe first. Okay, that does the same thing. The issue with Fluid is that there were 2 different implementations, but the standard says this should be the same thing. So calling pipe first now is equivalent to doing dot first, which means any of your objects can implement the first filter or last or size by just intercepting the property name size, okay, or last or first. So that's what was fixed in 224. So now you can redefine that by implementing get value async on any value. That and the last release. 225 new tags liquid and echo. So this is not implemented there. I filed an issue on their site so they can implement that, but I will show you what it looks like. The echo tag is something that's used this way. Echo, and the idea of the echo tag is that it's equivalent to the injection tag like this. Okay. As a statement tag, not an expression tag. Okay. So this is equivalent to that. And why there is this thing is because in conjunction to the echo tag, there is a new tag called the liquid tag. The liquid tag is just to execute liquid. I don't know why, but I think Zoltan will like it. What you can do with that is you can run liquid like this. So I do a liquid tag, and inside you can do for, this is a liquid tag, x in 1, 10. you can do echo x and 4. Okay, that's the idea. This is equivalent to, obviously, but it's less verbose in the way that you don't have to add all the curly braces, percentage everywhere. It's just one block, and you say this is liquid, and you type liquid like this. Okay, and you can nest them like if x equals, or can you? No, you can't do modulo something. You have to. Oh, let's see. Assign modulo 2 equals x modulo 2, and then you can say if modulo 2 equals 0, then echo x, then and it. Okay, so you can do things like this without having to. It's like a mini section for script. So that's kind of nice. So that's new in Fluid also, that's supported. That's new in Shopify, actually, in Liquid from this year, and that's now supported in Liquid. Something I have a branch for that will, I'm not sure if it's supported or not yet in Liquid. I'm just testing. I've not. It works in Fluid, but I want to be sure it works in Liquid. My goal, it works, but I want to know if we are allowed to write something like this. Liquid, if x equals 2, for instance, echo hello. Okay. So my goal is to, I'm currently looking into that. I will have to check at some point. It works in Fluid. I haven't pushed that. The difference is that do we have in the spec to use new lines as tags separators or not? For sure it works because that's what all the examples show, and that's currently supported in Fluid. But I wonder if we can just write something like this. That would be a lot super helpful when you write some HTML, because like you want an attribute like a class, and then you want to inject some liquid. So instead of having to write a lot of if tag and if and something in the middle, you can just do that, right? It's much easier to read than if we had to do if, then that, then hello, or just that, so hello. Yeah, I think it's nicer to have something like this, even if it's X, for instance, so you don't have to do even more curly braces. But very readable. This is much easier in this case. So that's why I want to see if we can, if we are allowed to do that. We can, but are we allowed to do that? I like it. I like this syntax. So that's what's new with 2.2.5, and I don't think we are on 2.2.5 yet on Orchard, but we could. Questions? That was my demo. I think that's it. Anyone has comments, questions, topics?
Not from me.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Dave and Zoltan, for the demos. We haven't had a triage for 2 weeks for diverse reasons, but Thursday, there is nothing that prevents me so far from having a triage, so I will see you on Thursday for triage or next week for the next meeting. Thanks, everyone. Have a good week.
Thank you, Ram. Bye-bye.